Very good afternoon to a lovely panelist. Uh, so interesting topic, I don't know like how many of you all agree, disagree, and we'll see what the panelists have to say in terms of strength of TV. So without much ado, I'll start. So just to kickstart the session, if you all can just from your respective brands, respective experiences, let us know how has TV played a role. So Anjali, if you could start.
Sure. Can you hear me? Hi. Thanks for having me on the panel. I think for Mondelez, TV has played a very, very critical role over the years. And I say that because our brands have a lot of storytelling to do and go deep down at the hearts of consumers. So over the years, we've used TV as a medium to help us enable that. Having said that, I think it's also one of the mediums that always shows us great effectiveness in driving volume share. So it's one of the key pillars of our strategy on media. And we've been investing. I wouldn't say we don't invest in digital, to be honest, we do. And we've been investing significantly over the last few years, but it's not to say that we are going away from TV or that we've taken our focus away from TV as a medium. So it still contributes to more than half the reach that we get on our plans. And I think everybody in this room also knows that you can't really build a completely digital out campaign when you have a lot of brand messaging to do, you have equity building to do, you have innovation to drive on products, you have storytelling. So TV does play a critical part.
It's interesting. So what I'm hearing from you is that TV continues to play an important role in your and largely in the brand building space. Darshana, over to you. So what is your viewpoint given the category which you operate in?
So I think you keep hearing this every couple of years, that is TV dying, print dying, all of that. I don't think anybody is dying today. Everybody has the roles or the world has become more complex. The media planning world has become more complex today. And purely depending, so brand like mine, the way she spoke about Mondelez for me, also because it is really reaching, of course we all know TV is first of all, quick and cheaper medium to reach when you have to really reach masses. So for sure, TV is needed at the top of the funnel. Now, all of us are now planning integrated planning. It's not just one medium, so to say. So when I'm planning my, campaign or on media, so definitely there is TV when I'm looking at more mass reach, more top of the funnel awareness and like she said, even efficiencies and all of that. But at the same time, now TV is also become CTV. So it's purely really, where is my audience? And what kind of media am I looking at and how do I reach primarily? So yes, when I want to go tier 2, tier 3, when I want to do storytelling, when my campaign is new, a product is new, where I really have a storytelling, definitely I do use more and more TV. But when I'm looking at here and now contextualization, so from storytelling on a product or a brand, on the brand, where I want to now bring the audience and start getting hand raisers, so immediately my plan will start integrating into digital. I will have contextualization, I will also have TV plus YouTube, and then looking at the third medium, which is your mobile. So looking at multi-screen, so what I'm trying to say that you have different pieces of content today, starting from TV when you want to drive reach, and definitely going all the way down to as contextual as your search and all your performance to finally convert your lead. Connected TV is also playing an important role in our lives for sure, because the audience has shifted, it's growing at 30+%. So in my planning, for sure I will have TV and connected TV. It's not more only TV.
Got it. So very, very similar to I think what Anjali spoke, that TV continues to play a role. TV is a huge brand building, huge reach medium. Harsh, what is your viewpoint?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the panel. And I think when we've been looking at this entire thing, we're seeing where the consumer is, and the consumer is definitely there on the television set, right? India is still largely a single TV household market, and TV time is family time, or family time is TV time, whichever way one wants to articulate it. So the time spent on TV has continued to be about 2.5 hours to 3 hours per day, and for good reason. People can afford to buy more than one TV set, but they choose not to buy that. And that's primarily because they don't want to lose this entire thing of the family coming together. And when that happens at scale, as a brand, we are then able to ride on this entire piece and make sure that we get our communication out to families which are co-viewing, which are enjoying the experience together. For us, largely, I would say 95% of our money is split between TV and connected TV, right? And connected TV is pretty much the new form of linear TV. But between those two mediums, we are able to get most of our campaign reach, and probably 95% of our campaign spends are happening over there. So it's a medium that's been there. It's just the form in which it is reaching consumers that has changed. What has not changed is the fact that it is still, for the last 20 years, we've been a single TV household market. What is changing is the fact that it's a combination of linear and connected today.
Interesting view. So what I'm hearing from you is that TV continues to dominate. It's linear plus CTV. And the other important point, which I'll come back again, is that it's a co-viewing medium, and that helps you to connect with your consumers. Shubhra, coming to you, given that you're strategizing for a large platform, and you'll cater to huge audiences, how are y'all looking at it? What is the future which y'all are looking at TV? What's like, if you could give us a little more spiel on in terms of the kind of clients which are more TV skewed, which you all believe, that'll be helpful.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Jai, and good to be on the panel with my fellow panelists. I think, one is, which is everybody's spoken about, is the role of television in terms of delivering reach at scale, delivering brand building, and delivering, the whole concept of brand building and storytelling. I also believe, and what we've seen across so many years, and we've partnered with thousands of brands during this period of time, is brands have used actually this platform for really driving their brand objectives across the brand funnel. While I know very often it gets spoken about that, it's a top of funnel and a lot of brand building, but we've worked very successfully with brands where they've not just delivered high reach and in terms of consideration, but also actually, delivering pure market shares. And I think Anjali spoke a bit about that. I'll give you an example. We are currently we are speaking to one of the brands whom we've partnered as an exclusive, as a brand who's on JioStar. And in the last 6 months, it's something where their whole objective has been only to drive market penetration. Right? And they have seen, just by looking at brand building, looking at what we call the ACE construct, right? So acing the brand. So the whole concept of ACE is that of attention, which is, delivering really attentive reach. Secondly, context. So how do you build context for brands? Because we all understand when you deliver around the whole thing of context, it really resonates with audiences. And the third part is that of delivering emotion. And there's nothing better to drive action than to deliver emotion. And I think using that, we've been able to really, using the ACE construct, work with brands and get them edge. And the brand has actually now seen almost already a 3 to 4% increase in penetration in few months in regional markets. So I believe that there's a role, and I think Darshana spoke about it well. Every platform has its own role. Television, the scale and the kind of attentive reach that it delivers for brands can play a role across the brand funnel, and that's what we've seen for across brands.
Interesting. So I quite like the framework which you created on ACE. So that's an interesting framework. So coming back to I think the point, Harsh, which you spoke about co-viewing. So I have one question, and probably you and Anjali, I think you could answer this, is TV, okay, like a family sort of entertainer or delivering to a family audience? So are we isolating, like, the new age, which is youth? What happens to that? Are they watching TV? What is your perspective on that? Is it becoming, TV is becoming a family viewing where youth and and even like, is it more skewed towards India B, India C, and not towards the metros? So I just want a little point of view on
So, Jay, I think the fact that TV is there in 210 million households, right? And like I said, it's largely a single TV household market. So people are coming together and watching. So you do have, when we go out and speak to consumers, whether it is in metros or in mini metros, in rural areas, we do see that it is a family viewing phenomena, and the youth is definitely sitting over there and watching along with the family. Now, is there a role of a second screen? Obviously there is, right? Are youth watching a lot lesser than what they were watching some time back, and as an index of what they were watching? Yes, it is the case. That's what data would suggest, and that's what, when we go and speak to people, also tends to come across. But that doesn't mean that youth has gone off. And when we look at some of the co-viewing numbers and some of the genres where co-viewing is higher, it pretty much mirrors, when it is connected TV, pretty much mirrors what is happening as far as linear TV is concerned. But linear TV of 10 years back is connected TV of today, right? So my sense is that, and wherever we set up campaigns and we want to reach out to youth and on connected TV, we are able to reach out to them. I don't think youth has moved off, or it may be a shift between linear TV and connected TV, but they're definitely consuming content on large screen. And again, I don't think it is a India 2 or India 3, or it is there across this. In fact, one of the things we were seeing, we were indexing absolute penetration of TV to absolute penetration of YouTube and then of Meta, and seeing those numbers. And what we were able to see as a split between connected TV and mobile was that the small screen is actually getting more pertinent for younger, poorer people, right? When you see the per capita GDP, and the states where the per capita GDP is lower is where you will see the mobile penetration is actually higher. Because, I mean, it is a necessity as compared to TV, which is still seen as a little bit of a luxury as compared to the mobile. So it's actually the richer states where TV penetration continues to be high, and slightly older audiences which are there as compared to young. But I still do believe that there is enough youth watching TV in some form, whether it's connected TV or
So very, I think, as expected, quite pertinent answers from Harsh. Anjali, would you like? Do you echo with him? Do you have a different point of view? So what he's saying is that youth are still watching TV. Obviously they've moved to mobile, but they might have moved from linear to connected TV. The second very valid point, or an important point he made, was about the richer states in India are still more towards TV. It's the poorer states where the mobile consumption, for obvious reasons, have gone up. So 2-3 valid points. Do you agree, counter?
So I do agree to most of what Harsh said. It's true. There is a co-viewing pattern. We know that. We also know that, yes, what he said, that it's largely India is still a single TV, consuming households, and TV time is typically family time. And I think the evidence of that is, no matter what your target audience is, if you go and you run a plan on TV, the deliveries look very similar, and that's because everybody is consuming the same content. Having said that, I do believe that youth are spending lesser time on TV versus any of the other screens. So time spent may be lower, but it's not like they're not consuming TV. The other thing is, it also depends what brand, what audience are you trying to target? What market pop strata are you trying to reach out to? What is the profile of the consumer you're getting to? And then you will find that the relevance of TV changes for each of these audiences, right? If you are going to, I'm not saying that urban households don't watch television, but of course if you go to a tier 2 and a tier 3 and you start moving down to rural, you cannot do without TV in your plan. Similarly, if there is a large sporting event like an IPL, or you have, the Big Boss and things like that happening, all audiences tune in to watch that, irrespective of age, irrespective of pop strata, irrespective of, brand that you want to go and target this audience through. And then again, it depends on how deeply penetrated is your brand. So the moment you start looking at deeply penetrated brands with very large audiences that you want to reach out to, TV again plays a very, very strong and significant role over there. So I don't think it's a metro-only phenomenon or a small town phenomenon, rich versus poor, or urban youth versus anybody else. Everybody does view TV. The only thing that you will see varying is probably the time spent on television as a platform. Otherwise, it's a given that everybody does view TV, and it may be for different reasons or in different time zones that people kind of consume content. The quality of the content may be different, but largely yes.
So we are still sticking to the fact of what we've grown up on, that TV is one of the mainstay. It is a large medium. It cuts across audiences. It cuts across India, and it's a great sort of brand builder. So I understand where you guys are coming from, largely large CPG base. But Darshana, I would like to shift that. We know that CPG is a big advertiser on TV. Probably 50% of the volumes come from there. But for a category, BFSI, and even for other categories, Shubhra, if you could add, what do you see the role of TV there? Because, okay, it's very clear for CPG that TV is a mainstay, but what is your viewpoint on BFSI?
Absolutely, I agree with you, Jai. So unlike the CPG brands, if you have to sit in my boardroom, I have to today convince every CEO every time that why do we need TV, because there is a clear shift. I personally don't agree that everybody is watching and sitting together. No. In fact, our data shows that a lot of course, one is the viewing time, like you should rightly mention, has come down, the youth today. And secondly, yes, when you're looking at sports and news and things together is okay, specifically sports and, Indian Idol or something like that. Otherwise, there is a shift with the youth, what you are getting onto the phone. The content, the appointed viewing is not what the youth today wants. Talk to the Gen Zs. They are not coming to do appointment viewing unless it is cricket or, one of those big matches. So in coming back to the boardroom, there is, because I am sitting with the entire team of people who are cord cutters most of the times. So there is actually really no TV there. There's no advertising. And this is the consumer that I have to first convince that I want to spend on TV. So definitely the narrative in my category, I can tell you, Shane, that I have to first convince, unlike a CPG. But where it does work for us, like I said, when we are doing a new launch or a new conversation, news as a genre is still very big for BFSI, and that's where television does work for us. That's where I'm, able to see my efficiency also better. But if you ask me if I was just like for my fintech platform, whilst I know people go, they burn IPL and all, I'm keeping IPL aside, but IPL I can also do only Jio. Do I need a Jio television with it? Not necessarily. And we've tried that. Even when I did Olympics, I had only done digital. I had not gone onto the television. It worked beautifully for me. So today, because consumer is shifting gear, so not necessarily that I every time need TV in all my plans. So we don't have TV every time in the plan. I may still choose CTV, but not,
Not linear TV.
Yes.
Shubhra, over to you. You need to save.
No, I think just some data points to start off with, and then I'll talk through some of my experiences, right? If you look at the size of the youth, and I think you touched upon 2 or 3 points, Jai, whether you're talking about youth, whether you're talking about co-viewing. So just to give a sense, there are close to around 300 million is the size of the youth audience if you look at the 15 to 30 age group. And that audience has actually grown on television, in terms of brass tacks, in terms of data. In fact, on JioStar, we've seen the growth of youth penetration increase by 10% over the last 2 or 3 years. And I think what is, and there's no doubt that people are consuming multiple media, right? They're there across different platforms. But I think the most important thing is the fact that, and again I come back to it, there's a kind of time spent that they're doing, right? So the kind of time which is people are spending and the youth is spending on television has actually also grown, unlike popular notion. And yes, there will always be some pockets which will be different. But if you, and just to connect with what Harsh was talking here, if you look at all your key markets, right, and if you break it down by every state and every pop starter, you will see youth, whether you look at youth, whether you look at male audiences, whether you look at mega cities, the affluent audiences, irrespective of the kind of cuts which you take, the growth is there in all of these markets, and rightfully so. The markets which are very, very highly skewed and higher, potential for brands, because those are the ones which contribute to, in terms of spending for brands, they all have higher affinity towards television, right? I'll give you a very quick example. Kerala, right? Kerala is one of the markets, for example, where if you see the youth on television is growing substantially high. In fact, Asianet has shown year on year we are having higher time spent as well as reach from youth on in Kerala. And similarly, it's time spent on, if you look at Big Boss, and I think Anjali spoke about it to some extent, and just to allude to that. See, there are different types of content. It's true that, not all kind of content will appeal to all, and that's pretty much the prerogative of the broadcaster to make sure that you have a whole set of different type of programming which will appeal to everybody. Having said that, it's true that 88% of television viewing is still co-viewing, right? So that's the kind of scale of co-viewing that we have in India, which means, whether you look at the young audience, whether you look at the old audience, and, they're all watching together. And I think the reason why that is very important is the kind of impact that co-viewing has actually. So, what does co-viewing lead to? Co-viewing lead to shared experiences. And when you have shared experiences, you have conversations. And what do most brands want? Brands want conversations and emotions when it comes to that. Because unless you have conversations and unless you have emotions, you will not have action. And for brands to really see that, we've seen that there is a 2x higher, impact which there is on brand outcomes of co-viewing versus solo viewing. So, yes, is there a reach? Is mobile grown? Is there penetration of mobile? Absolutely there is. But I think the most important thing, and possibly I keep coming back to that, is the whole concept of attentive reach. So you might get the reach and it might show up in your numbers, but what is important is it delivering the attention and emotion which you need for your brand outcome. Just the last point in terms of various kind of categories, if you look at it on television. Today, irrespective of, the kind of content you have, and I think somebody spoke about sports, IPL starting tomorrow, but let me come back to, Big Boss, for example, which is starting now in, we have Big Bosses in 6 and 7 languages. Big Boss has a reach of more than 400 million audiences on television, right? And then there's incremental, which is on digital as well. And out of that, if you look at the contribution of youth, it's very, very large. It's almost 30% of that audience is actually young audiences. So yes, we need to look at different kind of audiences, and whether you look at the young, in fact, mega cities, and I think you spoke about it briefly about the kind of audiences in different markets. If you look at over there as well, we deliver almost 30% higher ratings in some of these cohorts. So I think there is a role for, for television in every brand and every flow through of the brand across the brand funnel.
I think you've made a lot of points. And I'm just going to shift the context a little. So while we know and we all agree that TV has its reach, it cuts across markets, it cuts across youth and families. When y'all make a choicing, and this is more to three of y'all, when y'all make a choice about where the money goes, are there any sort of quality parameters which you look at? For example, brand safety. Does that play an important role when you look at TV? Does the large screen, seeing an ad on a large screen versus seeing it on mobile, these are quality parameters, the effect of that. So do these parameters also sort of upweight your spends on TV, or it is just purely numbers reach based? So probably Anjali, you could start.
Yeah. So let me put that in a little bit of a perspective with an example. So I have a brand that doesn't talk to, but it's sort of best of power brand, right? I'm signed up to a marketing to kids policy globally, so I cannot talk to kids, all right? And if you go and see women on digital, mothers particularly on digital, the number is significantly lower versus any other audience that you want to target. Now, in a situation like that, where I cannot go and talk to the child, and I don't have adequate audiences on digital, the co-viewing is the only avenue that I have. And if that is the mother is the influencer that I want to reach out to. I am left with no other option but to go to TV as a platform. Having said that, my comm strategy may also be very, very different if I was to talk to that mother on digital versus talking to that mother on television. So that's the qualitative parameter that comes into play in that case. So how is my storytelling coming out? It's a large screen, it's a co-viewing, it's also the ability to be able to drive an emotional message to the mother, right, who is going to ultimately make the purchase decision. So all of these will then be top-up factors apart from the numbers. So yes, I definitely need the numbers to drive business, but then I also need all of these qualitative aspects to gauge whether that's the right piece of communication that's going out to the decision maker. And there is when, things like, is this comm strategy best for digital? Is this comm strategy better tailored made for television as a platform? Is this comm strategy going to then reach out to, a mother in the household who needs to make an emotional decision for her child? Is this communication, on this platform better received because of the moment in which the communication is consumed, right? So yeah, these are all the qualitative metrics that will go into place. And then all of us know that even if I was to put this aside and I pick up something like a great event, sporting event like IPL, watching an IPL match on your screen, on your phone, is great for catching up on scores and, seeing what's happening. You've missed the action because you're on the go and things like that. But if you had a television set in front of you, would you not rather watch a sporting event of that grandeur and that stature on a large screen versus watching it on your mobile? So these are considerations, of course, that, will go into your planning strategy, and it's not just about the numbers.
So the answer is that you do look at
absolutely.
like what the platform has to offer from
Yes.
a qualitative perspective. Darshana, what is your viewpoint? Would you, like, if everything remaining equal, once you've done your analytical sort of split between TV and digital, would you upweight TV a little bit to say that quality is better, or what's your viewpoint?
No, see again, it's not so the parameters is not about just quality, but also the content that I want to place and the second dish, because I am okay to take a 45-second, and sometimes we've also done a 1 minute when it comes to, I know I'm spending, but because I want to tell that story, which television allows me, but at the same time, I will not do that on digital. If I'm taking it on IPL, I know I have to do a 20-second hard job. So it's also content placement at the same time, and which medium, so to say, that's why it does the job, the right job. Secondly, when you came to the brand, the qualities and the attributes, yes, the brand safety, because see, in our case, we are regulated. So at the same time, the regulator has certain aspect and they ask, like, SEBI has very strong guidelines, RBI has very strong guidelines. So what kind of, not just the channel that you're doing, but what kind of messaging. So it all also comes in play for us. Brand safety is very, very big tick box. And obviously after that, like I said, the medium and the content. So it's not just reach or the delivery, the media delivery cannot be just one parameter. There are various other softer sides which has to also take place. And in BFSI, unlike CPG, is also highly, attribution is very important. I mean, because I come from retail and CPG myself, I used to be very tired to constantly justifying that if I've done it on TV, how do you attribute the number and sales? So that's another thing that we have to keep in mind every time in the mix that I am looking at.
Got it.
If I can just add one point to brand safety. In Mondelez, we are very, very particular about brand safety. I think by virtue of the way in which content is served on television these days and the level of censorship there is, you're probably safer off, with your ad being on television versus digital, where you know that the environment is, unless you have trackers in place and things like that, it's kind of hard to get the best out of brand safety. So that's another thing that maybe Harsh can add more to that.
No, I think as far as brand safety is concerned, thanks to partners like Google, we have the ability to put the right exclude, include lists and just make sure that that aspect Google has really, I think, topped up for us. So, and I'm just saying Google,
Satya's in the room. That's right.
I saw him, that's why I said it. But anyway, so on a serious note, I think partners like Google have done a great job around it because this narrative has been around for a while and it's something that's been taken care of pretty well. The other thing is that a lot of the qualitative aspects that you're speaking about, Jay, fortunately can be quantified in some form or the other, right? So to the point that Shubhra was making on attention, attention also has, there is enough science that has gone around it now such that it is built back into our planning either through certain factors that are there to upweight one medium versus another, or a certain placement at a particular time of day or particular spot within the break and so on and so forth. So yes, we do take all of this into consideration, but given the fact that all of it can be quantified in some form or the other, we work towards quantifying these qualitative aspects to ensure that eventually we are giving the right score to it and then getting a like-for-like comparison there.
So I'll probably ask a little, what should I say? Let me bring the elephant in the room. If, like, I have read certain reports, again, these are not, these are not syndicated reports from the industry, but saying that pay TV is on a decline. Probably pay TV is losing subscribers. FTA is growing, okay, that's another number. So is the TV sort of becoming more towards CTV, pay TV viewers moving towards CTV? The large screen continues to dominate, but is it moving there? And FTA increasing. So is it slowly? And I'm like talking about the future. Again, none of us have the numbers or anything to hard code it. And I'll be glad if there is something which comes out from this panel. But is it that TV will slowly become India B, and CTV will start ruling India A, which is the metros and all that?
Yeah, no, Jay, fortunately TRAI puts out these numbers for us to see, and we have seen those numbers over a period of time. Post-COVID, these numbers have looked a certain way, right? So when it comes down to pay TV, because all DTH operators have to report their numbers, it's there for everyone to see, and the kind of decline that has happened on that front. When it comes down to the cable numbers, again, TRAI does report a large chunk of cable. The top 12 MSOs are reported by TRAI, so one can again go back and see where that number is. So definitely there is a need today for us to substantiate what the pay TV number is, and I think once the number comes out is when it will actually hit people, because I think there is a belief that the number is what it is, but it probably isn't what it is, and it's quite far away from, I mean, if you have to compare the TRAI numbers to the, then that maths is quite different. That being said, the DD free dish number is anyone's guess. I was recently in Rajasthan in a market visit where I went to 6 houses in a rural, across various rural households, and DD free dish is there everywhere, right? So it is quite amazing how people have managed to put, or how DD free dish has penetrated. And of course, I'm giving you a small example from the various visits that have happened, but that number is anyone's guess, but that number is obviously pretty decent and growing. That being said, connected TV is growing at the pace at which it is. So TV overall, in some form or the other, continues to be at the numbers that all of us know it is at. But the shift between pay and connected TV is the one to watch out for.
Anjali, you were itching to say something.
No, I'm not itching to say anything. I was going to say I completely agree with Harsh. Yeah, there is definitely, CTV is growing, we all know that. But whether pay is going to go away anytime soon, we have to wait.
Shubhra, what is your viewpoint? Like, what do you believe? What is the future of pay TV?
So, let me just give a different context once before we move into the size of the pay TV audience and what's happening into pay TV and FTA. Today, the overall consumption on television is close to 46 trillion minutes. Okay? Now, that is actually more than the combined consumption on your top UGC platform on your social platform, the top social platform, and your short video platform all put together. So, I mean, let's be cognizant of the size. So one is, of course, you can always be, we can talk about how those numbers are and what they're reported. Having said that, there is close to around 880 million homes which are reached by television today, and it continues to be that. I don't think we've seen any drops there, and consumption is only growing. When it comes to, again, I think pay TV drop, which boils down to what we call the cord cutters, right? The size of cord cutting audience is less than 0.5%. So yes, I mean, and that's not changed. I mean, I've been seeing these numbers for the more than 6 years now. That has, from 0.3% to 0.4% to 0.5. Yes, there is some drop, and possibly you see that in the room. There's this whole thing of around me syndrome, right? You people see people around you, and I think Darshana mentioned it very well, because, I mean, I can imagine it can be tough to convince people around in the room if they have not been on this, to convince them of what's right for your brand in terms of television. So I don't think pay TV is going anywhere. In terms of FTA, I think there is scope to grow every audience, right? There are still 100 million homes which don't even have access to television today. So, I mean, will pay TV reach there first? Will FTA reach there first? That's for us to say, but I think there's enough room to grow, right? I do not see a scope of, there will always be small audiences, and yes, today we are talking about CTV, and absolutely, large screen delivers that, and there will be an audience which is moving to CTV, and it will have its own benefit, but I just think that, from a pay TV size of the audience, it's not going anywhere. The kind of drop which we've seen are very, very small. So from that perspective, I see both reach as well as consumption growing substantially.
No, good. I think the numbers which you spoke about were like really staggering, and like how many trillion did you say?
46 trillion minutes.
46 trillion minutes. Wonderful. So, so last question. Okay. What's like, and Anjali, again, we'll start from you. What's your prediction? Currently, give or take, video, okay, is between TV and digital largely, and some bit, cinema. Estimation is that it'll be around 60% TV and 40% digital video. Okay. Moving forward, like, what is your viewpoint? How would you look at it 3 years from now, 5 years from now?
So let me put it this way. When I came to Mondelez, we were a low single digit on digital media. Okay, we're a healthy double digit today. Do I see that this will keep changing? Yes, it will. And I'm not saying, I don't want to quote a number, right? Over here saying it's 40%, 50%, 60%. I do think that it is going to grow and there is going to be a shift. But I don't think that that shift is going to be as dramatic as it was in the last 5 years. So the growth of digital that you have seen in the last 5 years versus what you will see in the next 5 years, specifically to content viewing, video content viewing, I don't think it's going to have the same trajectory. It's not to say that it's not going to grow, but it's not going to have the same trajectory. There are other aspects of entertainment on digital that may take off, but is it restricted to video consumption is something I don't believe. So there could be gaming, it could be so many other ways in which people start engaging with digital as a platform. So I don't think that that shift is going to be significant and dramatic. So if you're a 60-40 today, are you going to become a 70-30 tomorrow? You're not. It's going to be gradual.
Darshana, what's your view?
So I sort of echo her, but at the same time, see, when I am talking about like three years back, we were talking TV and digital, and we were talking, different. Today, the world has all become integrated because audience is just changing, and you have to be where your consumer is. It's not just what you feel. So, in the audio-visual world, the AV world, where now it is 10-second, I'm saying 5-second pre-roll YouTube to all the way web series, and there is a lot more digital consumption. The entire OTT is getting, whilst it is consolidating, but it's also so much of content out there. So in my mind, and even I don't know the percent, but is digital upping the game, of course, more and more. I don't see only TV and no digital and the only digital and TV, no. That I still say there will be a fair balance. But today, if it is 60-40, it can become digital 60 and TV 40. Can, yes.
Good.
A slightly different take on this, Jai. I think today everything, 100% of video is digital because it depends on how you define it. The box in the house that is there ensures that linear TV as it is also digital, right? So 100% of the consumption is digital. The difference is large screen versus small screen. And what I think that's where the dynamic is going to move, or that's where the dynamic is what we have to watch out for. And I definitely believe with the way in which connected TV has taken off, continues to take off. Every time we go out and look at those numbers, they're growing exponentially. Whenever we go and put money on connected TV, we are increasingly seeing the kind of results that we are getting as far as reach is concerned, giving us the confidence that this medium is, or the fact that TV is growing and connected TV within that is growing. So I think it's large screen versus small screen, and to that extent, the dynamic between how connected TV plays out versus how linear TV plays out, I don't probably put a number, but that's what I'll be keen to watch out for.
So are you saying like large screen is 60 approximately, and if mobile is 40, that will remain in the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, it probably depends on the way in which data rates move, right? Because we know that ARPUs as far as linear TV is concerned have continued to be where they were 10 years, 15 years back. Those haven't moved significantly. Is it sustainable as far as data pricing is concerned? And that will definitely define the way in which, what the ratio that you're speaking about. But to my mind, the reality is that everyone's house today, linear TV is also digital. So that's where I think between the rest of the panel and I, probably that's the difference in definition that is there.
Shubhra, what is your viewpoint? Large screen versus small screen? Let me just clarify.
No, I think I just feel that people are consuming content across platforms, right? Large screen, small screen, it's a matter of convenience. Given a choice, people prefer a large screen. It's in, when it comes to convenience and on the go, people might consume it. And again, I think it's like, probably Harsh covered it at some point in time. There are some parts where, television is still not reached, right? And that's where I see television actually growing. So I don't really see a zero-sum game. That one has to reduce for the other to grow. I genuinely believe that both can grow substantially, and I don't believe that the pie will grow. I don't believe that the pie is going to be very different for you to really define it as 60-20. I believe both have an opportunity to grow, and pay TV surely has pay TV and television itself on large screen have a great opportunity in the future in India.
I
Jay,
think
if I
the
may add
screen is
one
glaring at
last
us.
point.
Yeah.
It also depends how consumer journeys change over the next couple of years. And it depends on where the consumer is picking up its source of information, its consideration of brands and things like that. So that will also have a role to play, which will change that shift.
I think unfortunately our time's up. I just want to summarize that first of all, great session, great insights. What we all somewhere believe, TV is here to stay. It cuts across audiences, it cuts across markets. And I think the big thing which has stuck with me is 46 trillion. I think that's a really big number. So thanks a lot. It was really enjoyable, and I think we could have continued for 2-3 hours more.